Good evening, everyone. So glad you're here. My name is Jen. I am the Adult Services Supervising Librarian here at the Dillon Valley Library, and I, in conjunction with many local organizations, have pulled together this series of emergency preparedness workshops to make our community safer and more resilient. Tonight we have preparing for an evacuation. So I'm very glad that you're all here because it is very timely and relevant information for all of us to have. Our guest lecturers this evening are Terrell, who is Mill Valley's new Community Engagement Coordinator and longtime emergency preparedness volunteer. She works with local police and fire on community preparedness, so the perfect person to do this tonight. And we also have Sergeant Ryan Smith, who is with the Mill Valley Police Department, if you could not tell. Sergeant Smith has worked in Mill Valley for over 15 years and has been in charge of evacuations locally and worked on evacuations and securing wildfire sites in other communities as well. So also very well qualified to be giving this presentation. And since I am not qualified to give this presentation, I'm going to hand it over to them.
Would you grab the lights?
Yeah.
So I'm going to set the tone tonight with a 3-minute video. It's the evacuation of Paradise. The whole morning you'll see several little clips. And I chose this because Paradise is similar to Mill Valley in a lot of ways. A lot of vegetation growth, steep hillsides, and really narrow canyon roadways.
Under the high tension power line, there's a possible power line hazard.
Cut the power line down. We have eyes on the vegetation fire. It's going to be very difficult. About a 35-mile-an-hour wind on it.
With evacuation.
I'm going to stop that for 1 second until we can get the sound a little bit.
Power line, there's a possible power line. Hazard.
Cut the power line down. We have eyes on the vegetation fire. It's going to be very difficult to access. Have about a 35-mile-an-hour wind on it.
Respond to the Polga area to assist with evacuation.
We got structures already burning down here. You know, in about 1,000 acres. We'll be moving now, conk out. Evacuation for the Paradise area, what's mandatory?
Guys, Paradise is on fire. We gotta get out of here. Ashes are coming down. We're stuck. People don't live in their cars.
Oh my God.
It's okay.
What should we do?
We're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, there's a woman in labor. She's in a beige Honda Pilot. She can see one of our deputies.
Oh my gosh.
We are stuck in it.
It's
Hot right now. Oh my God. Oh. There's like explosions everywhere. Ugh. The wind is blowing so hard. Heavenly Father, please help us. Please help us to be safe.
People at 610 Billy Road, unable to evacuate. The fire is right behind Safeway. We're trying to get westbound traffic moving.
And notice the timestamp. It's the middle of the day, and look how dark it is.
Make it in! everything's burned. Oh my God, I mean, everything. I've been in the fire service for almost 25 years. And now I get it what it's like for your own town to burn. Clark Road again, southbound, power line, lane in the road. And this whole canyon is burning.
So that's a pretty somber introduction to why we're all gathered here tonight. And I chose that clip because a wildfire and evacuation scenario just like that will happen in Marin County at some point. So it's no longer, maybe could that happen? Something like that, all our firefighters in our police say will be a likely scenario. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, and Ryan's going to tell you about himself, about why we're here, what we wanted to add to the conversation. And my time in Mill Valley launched pretty much with an evacuation. I moved here a decade ago with my family. I have a big family. I have 5 children. It was October, and I get a text in the middle of the night from my only friend in Mill Valley, my new neighbor across the street, and it said, "OMG, tell me you're not in your house." It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I don't understand why I'm getting this message. That exact moment, my eldest daughter shouted from downstairs, "Oh my God, Charlie's house is on fire." And I come from the South. I've lived through hurricanes, tornadoes, extended power outages. I once had 17 trees in my house from a hurricane that spawned a tornado. So I came to Mill Valley. I'm like, yeah, I haven't had earthquakes. I haven't had wildfires, but I'm good. I know what to do. And I did. I was much more prepared than the average person. I had my important documents by the front door. I had my laptops every night. I'd store them by the front door. So we got our shoes on. We were ready to go. And at that moment, a Central Marin police officer was pounding on the door. And he's like, you gotta go, you gotta go. I'm like, I know. And I'm grabbing my keys. He's like, you can't take your keys. The firefighter engines have completely blocked you in. We come out to the street, embers are flying everywhere. It's October. We didn't know where to go, what to do. It's total chaos. Everyone else is evacuated because they know what to do. We found a house that was for sale about 4 doors down, and we went up on their porch and watched. And we watched what we thought that would be our house that would burn down next. At that point, I didn't understand of what could have really gone bad and how the whole neighborhood could have gone up, because I just didn't understand wildfire at that point. So then my neighbor who had texted me across the street, it was safe for everybody to come back. Luckily, that October night, there had been a little bit of rain, just the teeniest spit, so it helped the embers not go up the hillside. So we came back, we got into our house, and we were able to stay there. And amazingly, our house did not burn down. A firefighter, some of you all may know him, Mike St. John, sat on my roof until 8 a.m. that morning, making sure the embers didn't take our house out too, and the rest of the hill. So I realized, I thought I was prepared. I am not prepared. So I got involved with emergency preparedness. I started out with school preparedness. I got CERT trained, which is a community emergency response team, which some of you all may know. It's a 20-hour program where you get trained in light fire suppression, first aid, light search and rescue, and just to really be a resource for your community. And then City Council appointed me to the Emergency Preparedness Commission. And I served on that for almost 6 years and came almost to the end of my term. And then the city said, how would you like to work part-time doing community emergency preparedness? So that's how I'm here. And I know Officer Ryan Smith for almost 5 years. We got involved working together on Tam High's new safety plan. And Ryan has his stories about evacuation.
So I'm Sergeant Ryan Smith with Mill Valley Police Department, obviously. Michelle, I think I mentioned this to Michelle today. I was actually working the night of that fire that she had near her house. And yeah, we always think everything's going to go perfectly, and it's always a little bit of a mess getting all the equipment up there and the police officers. I mean, one of our police cars got taken out by a fire engine. Excuse me. So, again, I've worked with Michelle for a long time. I have some practical experience. I've worked several of our most recent wildlands fire in Mill Valley. Also, I worked a structure fire in Scott Valley. I worked the one that was off the Camino Alto grade last summer. So I've had some practical experience, and not to mention going to assist other agencies outside of our jurisdiction for not evacuation. I was never around for those parts, but for the scene control after that, which I'll talk about later on because I learned a lot of interesting items from that. But what I want to say is I appreciate you folks being here because this is going to make our job hopefully easier when we actually have to do this, because you saw the images of Paradise. They prepared. They actually did drills. They thought they knew what they were doing. And that fire came in so quick and so fast that the zones that they had prepared for, like, we'll evac this zone first, we'll evac this zone second, or just completely overrun, and the fire overswept the city. Every plan they had just went out the window. So, but they had trained and they had practiced. And so you can see what happens. I mean, she mentioned the timestamp, but that was the middle of the day. That was the middle of the morning, and it looked like the dead of night. So you can just imagine something like that in our community, the amount of chaos that something like that would bring. So anytime we have a chance to control a little bit of chaos, this training, it does help. So I appreciate you coming. So what happens in an evacuation? So obviously the initial thing is the wildfire is spotted. And I'll talk about that briefly. Does anyone remember the Scott Valley fire that happened a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago? It sent smoke like 200 feet up in the air. It was a single residential fire of a very large house, but we were getting calls from Novato, people reporting the smoke.
I didn't understand. Where was the fire?
Scott Valley, over by the tennis courts in that area. So that's something we can talk about in a little while, or we can speak about it later. But the wildfire spotted. So immediately our 911 system is completely inundated with multiple people calling 911 who aren't even affected by the fire. Does that make any sense? So you've got people calling from several cities away saying, I see smoke. We're like, great, we're trying to get information from the people who are next to the smoke. And so when I went to that call, we got a lot of complaints from people saying, I tried to call 911, I couldn't get through. I'm like, yeah, because 250 other people tried to call 911 at the exact same time. So we're gonna have issues with that. So the first responders make predictions and take actions based on priorities. So I'll speak to this incident because this is the most recent. We see smoke. We don't know what's going on yet. We got multiple calls. Like some people are saying it's a wildlands fire behind the tennis club. We had no information at that point that it was a structure that was on fire. So we didn't have a lot of information. So we as police, we're generally going to get to any of these calls for service before fire because we're mobile. We don't have, either we're out on the street already or I don't have to get anything. I can just hop in my car and drive if I need to. And when our officers, so we started requesting immediate assistance, and when my officers got on scene, they started immediately evacuating the neighboring houses in fear that that structure fire, once they determined that's what it was going to spread to other structures. My call, police officers' call. When fire got on scene, they were able to control the situation, control the fire, and we could reduce that. But again, you've got to figure there's going to be a delay. And so what part of this evacuation that we're talking about is you as residents have to make your own decisions sometimes too, because we may not have the information. If the fire is right next door to your house, don't wait for us to say evacuate. Do what you think is safe and get out of your house. Does that make any sense? Because we can't, the information takes time. I mean, it probably took us maybe 5 minutes before we kind of had a handle of what the actual call was, 5 to 6 minutes. That seems like forever. And in 5 to 6 minutes, imagine what you could do in your house. And you could be out of your house in 5 to 6 minutes. So just something to think about. And then we start doing our notification process, where we'll use a variety. We'll use Nixle, we'll use ReadyMarin. We'll even in that, oh, here we go. So I'll let you talk, I'll let you jump into this one.
Well, we have many ways to get the word out. I will show you how to sign up for ReadyMarin and Nixle later, but ReadyMarin sends critical information from local agencies to specific addresses. Like it might be Blythedale Canyon, Safety Myth. Nixle also uses local agencies, but sends it to a zip code. It's really important to sign up for both. Sometimes you might get duplicative information, but that's okay. In an emergency situation, you're not going to care if you have 4 different texts. They're going to tell you the same place that you need to evacuate in your neighborhood. We're going to go through what the different types of evacuation. Sometimes it's a warning, which means get ready. Sometimes there's an order, which means go right now. In the areas where there's an immediate risk, you may hear the LRAD alarm, siren. Do you all live in Mill Valley? Have you all heard the LRAD? So this is a new addition to our tool set. You will get a voice. It will actually speak to you. You know, there was a wildfire in Cascade Canyon. How would it actually go?
Yeah, the fire program's that section of it, but it's going to be specific as to where the fire is, and it's going to be really, really loud.
And it will tell you,
and I think they're installing
to
more.
Miller Avenue, evacuate, and it will give you specific information. You will also hear, the newest thing is the high-low siren. It's a European sound. It's like beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, and you never hear that in America on a daily basis. So if you hear that siren, you know high-low, it's time to go. So it's a little rhyme to teach.
And just to clarify, we don't use the high-low siren for anything else but evacuation. So you're not going to see our officer cruise down the street trying to pull someone over and hitting the high-low siren. We're not going to do that. The high-low siren is very specific for us. That means that if we're driving through your neighborhood with the high-low siren it means pack up your stuff and get out of the house right away.
I live in Tampa. Does this extend that far?
There are going to be new LRAD sirens implemented in that area, as well as Sausalito.
Okay, but not yet.
Right.
Actually, I guess maybe a couple of months ago, that we did hear it was going to be Saturday at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
So we heard it, and then it was supposed to be every Saturday.
Yes.
Then haven't heard anything.
It's the first Saturday of every month.
Of every month.
At noon that you should hear it.
Yes.
Southern Marin Fire Department wants that data. That if you could go on the Southern Marin Fire Department's website, you'll see that there's a place where they collect that, or you can just call and say, I live at this address.
Okay.
And I heard it one time, and I don't hear it. They do tend to tweak it, because there were some people downtown that didn't hear it, when I could hear it very well on Lower Hillside Avenue.
The first time it's siren, I heard it.
Yep.
Okay. But then next month, they just that was just a long time. So.
Yeah, ideally you should.
Check it.
Yes, please do. I mean, and if you do hear it, they would like to know that information. Like, okay, we got it right, but we need to fix your neighborhood.
And Tam Valley residents, just to clarify too, all this is universal to Tam Valley too. So the SO uses the high-low siren, and every agency around here uses the Alert Marin and Nixle. It's not just specific to Mill Valley, it's everybody.
And just
Sorry,
for
this
you
thing keeps
that
falling
don't know, SO is Sheriff's Office.
Sorry, MCSO, Marin County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of acronyms. So if we use those, please say, please talk in plain language. There was a hand?
I was wondering how, maybe you said this right, how would we notify someone if they heard it?
You can either call Southern Marin Fire Department. There's a lovely admin assistant who answers the phone. You can tell her. But the easiest thing is to go online to Southern Marin Fire Department, and they actually have a little place where you can enter that information. And they really do want that information. You're not bugging them, and they want to know, do you hear it, do you not hear it? And it'd be great to know, I heard it one time, but not the other times.
And what is the phone number? I mean, I heard that you said you could go online.
No, but why don't we get together after this meeting, and then I'll give it to you. No, I didn't give the number, but I will give that to you. You don't want to call the emergency number for that, but I'll give you the non-emergency. Thank you. This is you.
So evacuation warning versus evacuation order. So I want to say it's pretty self-explanatory, but I can see the confusion. So an evacuation warning is just what this says. There's a potential wildfire threat. You should prepare for a possible evacuation. If you have mobility issues, need to add additional time to evacuate, move to evacuate now. So really what this is it's a cautionary phase. It's like, hey, say for example, the fire is coming. You don't need to go yet, but be ready to go. But again, this is like a comfort area for you, is if you have a place to go, an alternative, you think about going then, because the last thing you want to do is have the rush, and then you go, okay, now I'm going to go, and then there's a whole bunch of other people going with you at the same time, and you run into some issues. If you're in a warning time frame, that's when you should really consider, it's like, should I stay here or should I go? But that's totally up to you. We're not ordering you to. That's this phase. There's an immediate threat to life. There's a lawful order to leave now, and the area is closed to public access. So that's the get out, we're in charge now. and we're going to take care of what we need to do. So does anyone have any questions on an evacuation? Or yeah.
Well, I do have
Sure.
a question or clarify. Okay, so I'm one of the block captains, and of course we have the evacuation side,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And we have some here too.
Those sides, and then of course you have the help and okay side. So basically, when the evacuation order, the people should know to put their signs out they've been evacuated. And then, like you, were the officers that would go, will check, or who would actually, what department would check to see?
So I see what you're saying, and I don't want to give you a false answer that's like, hey, we're going to go door to door and make sure every house is evacuated. We may not have the manpower to do that. I guess this is an important question. Does anyone have any idea how many Mill Valley police officers are on duty on any given day? 3. He's right. There's 3 of us. Sometimes 4 if we're fully staffed, which we're not always fully staffed.
And 7 firefighters. That's it.
So we're not counting, I'm not counting any of my administration. Obviously, if there's a fire during the week where the chief's going to be doing whatever he needs to do. But the reality is there's 3 of us out mobile in our patrol cars, maybe 4. And so we kind of depend upon these evacuation tags. If you slap one of these on your door, that's one less place that we need to worry about checking.
And we can go ahead and talk about this. And we brought ones, because some of you do not live in the Mill Valley Police Department jurisdiction. Some of you live in the sheriff's. So we brought extra ones, and would please take one home, please, or for a neighbor, you know, if you take what you need.
Are you going to pass out copies of this?
No, but I could email it to you if you'd like me to. And it's also recorded as well. But I'm happy just to send you off an email.
Share it with our board.
Okay, that'd be great. And we would be happy to come and talk to a group and that sort of thing, because we really want to educate folks. And word of mouth is so important in this. And I will stress again, but I'll introduce the idea now. Know your neighbors. Know your neighbors' strengths and their weaknesses. And in this situation, please check in on your neighbors that might not be connected, that might have mobility issues, that are elderly. So, because in these situations, it's neighbors that save people. There's 3 police officers, there's 7 firefighters. They can't go and rescue everyone.
No. I forget, do we have a slide where we talk about like leaving the house and everything like that?
Yeah, that comes up
Okay,
soon.
perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the things you can do right now to get your family ready for evacuation. You've probably heard pack a go bag. But it's really important. Pack a go bag for every single member of your family, including your pets. And I try to think of a go bag as, oh, I'm going away for a weekend. So I'm going to have some clothes, some comfortable clothes. Don't put your worst clothes that you never ever want to wear again, because your house might burn down. You might be in a shelter. You're going to want to be comfortable. Pack extra toiletries. And pack a snack. Pack a bottle of water. You might be stuck in your car for a while. You're going to want to eat and drink. And then with this go bag, you're going to write a checklist of your most important daily items that you don't want to shove in the bag for months on end, but you're going to need. So for me, that would be a file of important documents, like maybe something about my mortgage, my passports. I would have medications, medical devices. My husband has apnea, so he has like the sleep apnea machine. And I would also, extra eyeglasses. I would probably say, oh, remember to get that necklace. You know, like that couple little family heirlooms. That way, if there's an evacuation warning, you don't have to go right now. I know, in that chaos of it all, what do I go and get? You know, maybe a couple photos, just something I could physically carry with ease. And have those go bags in an easily accessed place. And what I do on red flag days, I kind of pull those out of the closet. I have them by the door, ready to go. That way, if we gotta go, they're right there, ready to go. And if evacuation's been called or conditions are looking really frightening, you wanna be sure that everyone has sturdy shoes, no flip-flops. And also, this is something I learned from the Paradise Fire, is to have long sleeve clothing, long pants, long sleeves. Make sure it's cotton or wool. You don't want polyester, because polyester melts with embers. I mean, it's going to be okay. You're not going to, have third-degree burns, but that's going to really hurt. So think about that. Plan this stuff ahead of time. If an evacuation warning has been called, you want to go ahead, grab those car keys, grab your wallet, get the cell phone, get an extra battery charger and just have it on your person. And definitely, we all have masks, and so get an N95 mask. I mean, one day the pandemic will truly be over, but have those N95 masks ready to go for every single person in your family. Also, everyone should have a headlight and a flashlight, and you saw exactly why. It was pitch black for some of those folks. And you want to have that for every single person, not just one family member.
There are free flashlights over here. You can take on your way out.
Thank you.
Okay, and the other is to have a communications plan. Think about this now. On red flag days, I make sure my phone is right beside my bed at night and fully charged. I want to be ready to go. I always have a little battery pack in my backpack ready to go. I also have a little battery charger in all my go bags. Even my kids have them. Just so, we're stuck in traffic. I want to be able to use that cell phone to connect with people. And speaking of connecting with people, you want to have an out-of-area contact. It doesn't have to be my folks back in North Carolina, but maybe someone down the peninsula that I can call and say, hey, there's an evacuation warning. This is what's going on. I'm packing up the kids. I'm getting ready to come down south, or I'll call you back. Someone needs to know where you are, what your status is. And also that person can also be a contact for other family members that aren't at home. And, just for the communication piece. Also leave a note, if you do have to evacuate, your contact number on your fridge, on an inside window for firefighters or police to access if they need to say, hi, we're in your house right now. Can you tell us where your gas is so we can turn it off? Those kind of events could happen. And again, please check on your neighbors and alert them. There's been an evacuation warning. We need to get going. And if there's an evacuation order, please try to knock, if it's safe, knock on the door as you're running off. Also, preparing your pets. Those are actually my dogs. They have their own little go bag, which are actually hiking panniers. So again, like I said, I have a big family. I have 2 giant dogs. I'm not going to carry their food. They can carry it themselves. If an evacuation warning has been called, or it's a red flag night, you smell smoke in the air, things are looking kind of dodgy, go ahead, bring your outside pets inside. Go ahead, put them in the little cat carrier, put your dog on a leash. That way, in the chaos of having to evacuate, they're there. A lot of cats, as you know, will hide when there's stress. They pick up on it, they'll run and hide. I had a friend of mine during a red flag night, and she smelled smoke in there. She's like, oh my God, I don't have a cat carrier. What am I going to do? I'm like, you're going to put your cat in a pillowcase. And that cat will hate you for about a day, but they will forget and forgive you, and that cat will be alive. I also know people who say, I'm just going to let my cats go. Or I can't take my dog. They'll run out of the fire. They're smart. They'll know what to do. The sad thing is they don't. Domesticated pets burn, they die. There are horrible, horrible photos out of the Tubbs fire in Sonoma and Paradise where, sometimes cats do run and hide, but they hide in the wrong places. So please take your pets and have a plan for your pets. How about if it's height of fire season, it's their red flag days, but you're going to be traveling, or you're going to be in East Bay all day and you're worried about your home. Let your neighbors know how to get in your house, how to get your pets out, so that you don't have that extra stress. Be sure your pets wear a tag that has your cell phone number on it. Maybe they don't have the cute little tag. Just take a Sharpie and write your telephone number. You could even be on the inside of the collar if you want to keep that, looking cute and you don't want your number on a Sharpie. Just flip it on the inside and write your number. And have fresh water, food, and necessary medicines ready to go if you have to evacuate. Any questions about pets? And how to prepare your home if an evacuation warning's happening, or maybe it's just dodgy conditions.
Yeah, so if you're getting ready to actually leave your home and you have time, so this should be just like one big giant option right here. If you have time. If you have time. This is just stuff that helps protect your home. So you're talking like shutting off your HVAC and your ceiling fans. That's just less circulation of air. It's not bringing in fresh air into the house, which might have the smoke or the embers or anything along those lines. Make sure all your windows and doors are shut. Same thing. Placing combustible outdoor items. Like if you can get stuff off your deck, that's maybe flammable, like all your propane tanks or whatever you need to do to put those in the garage or put them someplace where they're not out in the open if you have time. So this is connect garden hoses to outside spigots for use by firefighters. Absolutely. Don't leave them on and with like water flowing everywhere, but have them ready because someone may run into your backyard and start doing something before they get main lines up there, if they can even get main lines up there. And then leave indoor and outdoor lights on for firefighters and police. And one of the other things that comes up is people talk about like, well, what about securing my house? Some people have said, should I leave my house unlocked? Should I lock my house? Lock your house. Because if we need to get into your house for whatever reason, I promise you we can get into your house if we need to. I'm very good at it. And firemen are even better. But one thing the fire department has asked about is like, if your property is locked, yes, leave your property access open. Like, so leave your gate open, because that way they don't have to break anything if they have to get into your curtilage or wherever you may have some landscaping or whatever it is that's catching fire. They want to be able to access that without causing any more damage than they need to. Just something to think about. But again, the most important thing is life, property second.
And this is you too.
What?
This is you as well.
Okay. As Michelle had talked about, have your cars gassed up, powered up, pointed in the direction of exit route. I mean, I can't even imagine the horror that those people in Paradise were going through trying to get out of their town. And the last thing you want to worry about is, am I going to run out of gas? Is my car battery going to die? Whatever it is going to happen. So if you have the time to plan, like if you're in a red flag warning or whatever it is, or maybe if you live in an area that's you're just make it a habit to make sure your car is gassed up. You're leaving in one car. Pick your favorite car. Pick your car that can get you out of whatever situation you're in. Because did anyone participate in the evac drill that we had on East Blythedale where we lined up all the cars and said how long it took us to get out of it, to evacuate East Blythedale to the middle school? Okay. Perfect conditions. It was great. It went pretty fast. Now just imagine, couple that with Paradise and look at how, if you have more cars on the road, how much more stressful that's going to be. I joke, but pick your favorite car. Pick the car that you can put everyone in, and that's the car you're going in. And also consider, car, bicycle, walking. I mean, I look at some of these hills here in Mill Valley that if you had the evac on, remember, you've got multiple people trying to evac at the same time. Then also you may have to consider fire personnel is trying to go en route to wherever the fire is, which is usually the exact same way that you're trying to evac from. I look at things like, man, if you had an e-bike, you could cook your way out of this area really, really quick and never run into something. So always, if you can think about it, consider it, have an alternative way of getting out.
Which brings me...
And evacuate on foot as your last resort, because you can't outrun fire, is really what it comes down to. And again, it was just brief on Paradise video, but you could see that the fire department was picking people up and loading them into their engines, because the engines have the best chance of surviving something like that, because they're designed by nature to be not fireproof, but at least capable of withstanding that type of contact.
And this is an area where you can plan right now. Mill Valley has 2 resources which are really great, which some communities haven't really thought about. We have an extensive set of steps, lanes, and paths, and some new ones are coming into Tam Valley and Homestead as well. When the Oakland Hills fire happened, town leaders said, oh gosh, we look just like them. Narrow roadways, everybody trying to come down to the valley floor. And we have all these steps, lanes, and paths, and they're so overgrown. So DPW started cleaning those out, and the Friends of Mill Valley Steps, Lanes, and Paths, led by Hugh Kuhn, have done amazing things in making these paths that were once completely overgrown available to all of us. And so many of us use them for walking and for exercise and ways to go into town or meet with friends. But be aware of the steps, lanes, and paths in your own neighborhood. On my street, there's actually 4 different sets. And there are now at least 150 well-marked, well-maintained steps, lanes, and paths in our community.
I believe there are also copies of the publication upstairs at the circulation desk for sale.
And like Michelle was talking, this is like a total risk versus reward kind of thing. That's like, we're telling you not to leave on foot, but we're letting you know there's these steps, lanes, and paths. And you just have to consider, like, if you're in traffic and traffic hasn't moved in 2 hours and you know that There's a path like 20 feet from where your car is, and you can get down that. That'll take you towards downtown in a much. It's just something to consider. We're not saying you have to do, but you always weigh the pros and the cons of all of that, and you go, this is the best decision for us. We can get to downtown, and then I can worry about getting a ride out of downtown, whatever I need to do.
In that situation I explained to you, I was introducing myself. When we were fleeing our house, they're like, yeah, sorry, you can't take your car. I didn't know that just 1 block away were all these depths, lanes, and paths. I could have taken my family, been much less stressful, headed down to the depot and waited it out. But I didn't know they existed. So happy to know that they do now. But again, it's last resort to have to go on foot. And
Speaking of last resort
is the community refuge area. Has anybody heard of that before? CRAs is a little term that's
it's floating around there now.
So a community refuge area is a place you can go wait out the firestorm. Typically, it's a wide open space. If there's grass, it's well irrigated and mowed. It's a paved playground at one of our local schools. It's a Safeway parking lot. It's the community center. These are places, again, of last resort, but if you traffic's so backed up, there's no way coming to get out, the firestorm's coming. Know where your local community refuge areas are, because that could be a place where you can go and survive. There's one, literally, I live on Hillside, the Greenwood or Mount Carmel Church parking lot's right there. I probably would go there and see my house burn down and be really uncomfortable, but I'd make it. So just sort of play that out when you're driving home tonight, like where are my steps, lanes, and paths? Where's my local community refuge area? The Southern Marin Fire Department this fall will be sending to each of your homes a evacuation evacuation map that will show your community refuge area for your specific neighborhood.
And again, it's last resort. I worked the Lake County fire afterwards, so I was there after the fire had occurred, and I was working in security because they had a lot of looting issues. But it was funny, talking about community refuge area, this is before they really started CRAs, but the golf course up in the area where I was working was completely green, totally not burned, and there was like 20 cars parked on it, where people had figured that was the best place to put some of their property. There were boats and cars, and they just said, maybe they'll survive here, and they just parked them there, and to their credit, that's what worked. So.
And you brought people home safely?
So again, I worked the Santa Rosa fire, the Tubbs fire, where I did the repatriation of people back into their houses. So do not try to return home when an evacuation order is in place. Please don't try to get into your home when an evacuation order is in place. Just food for thought, when we declare an area an emergency site like that, a whole bunch of laws come into place that really prevent you from coming in there and allow us to take action to prevent people from coming in there. We had a lot of problems up in Lake County where people were coming in and looting burned sites, looking for jewelry, guns, whatever they could find. And we had a lot of problems with that, and that's why we were up there. And we will enforce roadblocks, which is another conversation we'll have here in a second. Wait for the formal announcement that evacuation order has been lifted. Again, that'll come through a variety of sources. It's gonna come through your Nixle, it's gonna come through your Alert Marin. Eventually, we could even use mundane, like tweets, just putting stuff out there to let people know. But it'll be official. Stay vigilant in your return. Fires can reignite, or your house could have some damage to it that is more serious than you think it might be. So just be cautious. When I worked Lake County, power lines were down forever. And the biggest problem that the fire department was having and the police were having is there were some people who refused to evacuate. So they're still living in their homes, and a lot of them got generators and fired up their homes to run like their electricity. But what they didn't realize is that's now powering lines that are going out of their house. It's going in reverse. So fire department has to start dealing with possible live lines that they thought were dead because they're being filled by a residence. Trees, power poles, and other structures, super unstable. Things are falling all the time. So just be very cognizant of that. We don't have that level here, but trees get damaged. Branches could fall. Trees can burn inside for days and weeks, as far as I understand, and they can just fall over suddenly. yeah, move back under the guidance of public officials and when you can ensure the safety of your home. This may take several months. That depends on the damage to your home. But you're looking at, I can't remember Tubbs Fire. It was a couple of weeks for some people to get back to just go examine where their home sites were. Which leads me to this. Is it individual or did you just do it a block like this?
I just put in a block.
Okay, so this is me, or my car at least. I'm working a checkpoint in Santa Rosa, Tubbs Fire. And obviously to prevent people from going into the burned area. And I had some woman come up to me in her car and she's like, hey, I just want to go through and see if my house is still there. And I said, I can't let you through. Can't let people drive through this area. But I'm getting ready to go mobile on patrol. Give me your address and I'll go check for you. She's like, that'd be great. So I get her address, I get her phone number, I get her name. And driving through that area, the area I was in, I can't remember the name of it, and I apologize. They were like ranchettes, though. The homes had a couple acres, some of them did. And it was just burned out house, burned out house, burned out house. Street signs were gone, so you couldn't identify address insignias were gone. So fortunately, AT&T had come in there and put up one of their mobile trucks, so we all had cell phone service. So we're using our Google Maps to try to figure out if we're the right area. And I finally find her street, I find her house, and I drive up her driveway, and that's her house.
The next door house had burned down, right?
So her house, by luck or by intent, they had a decomposed granite walkway all the way around their house, concrete driveway. The roofs looked pretty clean. Their gutters didn't look stacked with stuff. They had a bunch of debris that had fallen from the fire and the wind onto their decking, which did not catch fire. All the other houses around her house burned. It burned right up to the edge of her house. So I actually got to call her and tell her house was still standing, which was great. So it's the little things like that you can do to your home that are going to help protect your home. And this is exactly why it works. Now, like I said, whether she did that by intent because she knew she wanted to prevent fire or she thought decomposed granite looked cool, it saved her house, 100%. This is just the front of her house with all the debris that had fallen, her concrete walkway and the doors up to it.
It also shows how clean the roof is. There's no, the gutters are super clean.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, it's the whole issue up there was amazing. Did anyone? I'll digress real quick. Did anyone hear the story about the people who survived in the pool during the Tubbs fire? I met those people when I was on patrol. I'm like, so what are you doing up there? Like, oh, we stayed in the pool all night. I'm like, you did what? No, they stayed in the pool all night. So I met those people the day they had come out of the fire. It was pretty impressive.
Did their house burn down or?
I think it did. I think their house burned down and they survived by staying, which is ironic because apparently you can get hypothermia over an extended period of time being in the pool. So they were very lucky to have survived it regardless of not burning, just from hypothermia. But anyways.
Yeah, I understand that they couldn't get out, so that was really,
yes.
That was their last resort. That was their own community refuge.
Yeah, that was their own CRA.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
So, to quickly recap, if you don't remember anything from tonight, please remember these things. Have a go bag for every single member in your family, including your pets. Know your evacuation routes, your community refuge area. On red flag days, stay vigilant. Think about what if my neighborhood gets the evacuation warning tonight. Be prepared. Have your car gassed up. I always make sure that I only have street parking where I live. I always make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. I'm in the most easy place to get into my car with space in case I have to load up my car. I mean, I sort of play the what if game, little role play. Checking on your neighbors. And as we discussed,
don't wait for a formal evacuation order. Don't think you have to. And I can't stress that anymore. I don't know how much more to stress that because you may be seeing something that we just aren't aware of yet or we don't know about, so we can't even address it. If the fire's at your front door, go, fire's at my front door, I need to go. Don't wait for us because you may have more information than we do. Sometimes we have to play the catch-up game. Property be replaced.
Yeah, don't be a hero. Don't stay behind. Don't say, oh, I'm going to water down my roof. I'm going to water down my yard.
Yeah.
Please leave. because
And you can't just take one car. I know that sounds weird. You want to get all your property out of there. Everyone loves their cars. Take one car. Just realize that that's one less car on the road if you take two, and you can see how bad that is when it really comes down to it.
Probably a gas-powered car as opposed to an electric car.
You know what? I mean, I honestly would think a gas-powered car would be better than an electric car because you never know the range or how much power you're going to have or how long you're going to be sitting. A gas-powered car is going to run a lot longer at idle than an electric car, I would think.
I just did one more thing because I'm a little old lady, and I made arrangements with a friend on the peninsula and said, if I have to get out of here, can I come? And they said, of course.
That is a fabulous idea.
We call them fire friends because we had some friends who lived up in Santa Rosa who, like, if the fire comes again, who we staying with, you know? So it's like, oh, cool, we're gonna stay with you if there's an evacuation order up in our area.
And I think for folks who may have mobility issues or live in areas that are really hard to get out of, maybe on those severe red flag days, maybe do go visit those friends if you have the ability to do that, just so that you're first out. So.
You probably said this already, but do the red flag day warnings come across when Nixle and
They often do.
Yes.
otherwise?
And then the National Weather Service.
Yeah, the news will say if it's a red flag day.
Says it.
So like if you watch KTVU and watch the weather report, they'll say, hey, it's a red flag warning in these 6 counties.
Yep.
So they'll always do that.
But I've always seen it on Nixle and AlertMarin.
We do
And there are also physical signs that the firefighters will go out in Mill Valley, particularly in Mill Valley, and they'll flip it and it'll say red flag, no warning, no burning.
And I won't say for sure because we didn't have a lot this year, but
right.
I think we do. We'll tweet it too. We'll put it out on social media and say it's red flag today, because we do it because we need to enforce a lot of the red flag rules on Miller Avenue with parking and other things along those lines.
Right, that's why I've seen the warnings. And in other words, it doesn't mean there's a fire going on. It just means that there's
Correct. What they're saying is the environmental conditions are perfect for a fire to start. And that's what they're trying to, so they want people to just be aware.
Alerts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They'll say red flag? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So I get alerts from Alexa, from Nixle, and the sheriffs.
Perfect.
Okay. Right. And again, if you have a neighbor who's not in the know, share that information. I've had to share that information with neighbors who are grilling in our hillside area filled with trees. I'm like, please, don't see that today. No open burning. And again, sign up for alerts. So Nixle, you're going to text your zip code to 888-777. So I do it for where I live. I actually do it for where my kids are in college. You can do it throughout, so where you work, where you live, and where you learn. And also in Marin, sign up for AlertMarin. That will come directly from the sheriff's office. And they will send messages specifically for your address. And with AlertMarin, you can register 5 different addresses, different telephone numbers.
That's it.
And if you have elderly parents or children, just all sorts of things, you can text their zip code so that you get those and so that you can warn them. But that's the end of our somewhat formal presentation. Any questions?
I do. I was told that you should back your car in.
Yes.
Instead of going forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, because particularly on these narrow passages, like in the morning you're trying to leave and you're trying to back up and then someone's coming up the hill and someone's coming down and how difficult that is. So on red flag days, please, I've actually gotten into the habit, I always park going out in the right direction every single day, even if it's not red flag. So my family's kind of gotten used to my OCD behavior about it.
The other thing is there's property by the police, by the river, whatever it's called, Richardson, where it looks like it's for a helicopter landing. I've seen them. And what's the role that the helicopter can do?
As far as firefighting?
We're just observing what's going on.
So does anyone know that on Mount Tam we actually have a lookout that's manned? So that's one of our primary things they do. They're actually very good at what they do, and they'll pick up fires and smoke in areas that you wouldn't think would be able to see. As far as a helicopter, yeah, I guess if we had, I'm speaking, this is more of a fire department question than a police question, but my belief would be if there's a fire within our community, they're going to use helicopters as far as water access, and they're just going to pull water from there and keep doing that. Where you see that, that's our landing, that's one of our primary landing zones. If we have a medical emergency where we need to fly someone out of our area. And so that's been deemed a safe landing area because it's easier for us to control. The police department's right there, the fire department's right there. We can close off that park, land the helicopter, and get it out of here.
These are all dumb questions that I'm asking.
There's never a dumb question. It's
I live on
honest.
Miller. I live on Miller. And lately, just getting anywhere on Miller has been, slow. So I just was wondering, would it ever happen that both lanes would be going out of?
That's called Contraflow, and there's been a discussion
Yes.
of maximizing exit from an area.
I mean, that's what we did on East Blackdale. We did Contraflow. Our goal was to stack East Blackdale one direction out of town, both lanes, to see how many cars we can evacuate in X amount of time.
So police could make that decision during evacuation.
Correct. So I guess just remember too that a lot of these things we're all going to be. We did kind of jokingly, but when we're working a fire, we're going to be hip to hip with the fire department. So there's going to be a supervising officer there. If it's me on duty as a sergeant, I'm going to be next to the battalion chief, and we're going to be making a lot of decisions together as to how best but police are in charge of evacuations, fire's in charge of fighting the fire. So, but we're going to obviously divert to them when they say we need to evacuate these areas. It's not like the police are going to argue with them and say, no, we're not. No, we're going to take what they're saying and we're going to start evacuating those areas through notifications or going around if we need to do what we need to do.
Okay, so who handles the unincorporated areas of Mill Valley?
That would be the sheriff's department.
The
So,
sheriffs.
the green and tan guys.
For the Hilos.
Yep, they do the exact same thing that we do.
It's going to happen the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's actually a video, you can probably find it on YouTube still, I'm not sure if it's still there, but it's the Southern Marin or Hilo, it's time to go, and there's a bunch of officers, and there's a deputy, there's a Mill Valley officer, Sausalito's there, who all give a presentation on the new Hilo Sirens. We're all on board with it. It was something that was designed after these fires were like, what's the best way to try to evac people besides going door to door to tell them they need to evac? Let's put these sirens on the cars and just kind of let it go that way. Because when our officers went to the Tubbs fire, they were in Oakmont and they were going door to door on some of those elderly people going, you need to get out of your house. They were just completely unaware of what was going on or didn't know what to do. So our officers were going door to door versus being able to have a button we can press and basically everyone goes, oh yeah, that's our key to get out of here. So.
I have a question. I think there's some kind of neighborhood group that has block captains.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to sign up to be a block captain on Sycamore, but I sent an email and I didn't hear back.
There has been a change in staff since the first person came on board, and this is Leah Curtis, and she is the NRG coordinator
And
for
what I'd
all
like
of
to
Southern
say
Marin.
is October the 1st,
What's October the 1st?
October 1st, for having the block captains are having their second annual party or gathering.
Okay.
And it's at the the fire department on Poplar. I think it's between 10 and 11. So you're more than welcome to come.
Okay, thank you.
I can send you an email if you want.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Where is the meeting?
Oh.
Where?
Oh, I think it's at the fire station on Poplar.
Poplar, yes. That's where it's on Poplar out.
Great. Cool. Well,
All right.
thank you to our.
Thank you for coming.